I guess as sort of corporate sponsor, I'm allowed to sort of do a plea as well as a bit of a description of the work we're doing. Again, it's a pleasure to support this conference, and again, we focus so clearly in our world on the energy efficiency of the built environment. It's nice to see wider horizons in some of these presentations, and look forward to that certainly this afternoon. A bit of background: we make insulation. We operate 4 factories in the UK, I think 35 at the last count globally. But a special context for the last presentation, a mention of IoT and big data. At the moment, we supply building products. It's what we do. We have a more gloried ambition set out in our mission statement that says we would like to supply energy services. Now, the difference, the challenge is, okay, in a mission statement, what does that mean? But for us, to a degree, that means commissioning research involving innovation that actually allows us to start quantifying real numbers behind what we do. Okay, a bit of context. What I do, my job is to take research we support, research we sponsor, and we do a lot through Leeds Beckett University over the years, a very good relationship. We sponsor PhDs, etc. But my challenge is, once you have added to the body of knowledge, I confess, once academics dust their hands off and say, well, I'm done now, my challenge is to try and create a change in regulations, change in mindsets of politicians or key civil servants, change in mindsets of the populace in how they perceive and approach things. And I guess I'll use my 10 minutes to sort of put a bit of a plea out there of beware how you convey, how you land your addition to the body of knowledge, and what you throw as a sort of support mechanism to those arguing for the change in a wider society out there. And again, I've sort of distilled those points into translating complexity. Chris throws heat loss coefficients at me, U values, lambda curves, etc., all rather tricky to understand, and when I go to a policymaker's environment, most of that information is lost. Other challenging biases. Once we discover a truth, we have added to the body of knowledge. Well, you've got a lot of hurdles to knock down against pre-existing mindsets, pre-existing knowledge. This is the way we do things. It's not often just enough to say this is a truth, this is right. And of course, specific to the energy efficiency industry is the invisibility of the impact. Quantify the savings you have made in buildings. Dom, how about exactly we do that? Quantify what difference have you made to this homeowner. Could be an energy savings from addition of insulation. Could be improved comfort. How do we quantify that? And again, look at those new available tools, big data, IoT, the capacity of machine learning. What's there to make the benefits of what we do more real, to realise our mission statement, if you see. Conveying complexity. Anyone guess what the next side is? This Roman architect Vitruvius thought he added to the body of knowledge, but I'd suggest that it took over a millennium for someone to articulate what he was actually trying to say. Again, an image that portrays an awful lot in just one view. You can see it's art, but you can see that there's something else going on there. Vitruvian man, based on Vitruvius's discovery of the truth around, or as he perceived it to be, around proportions of humans and how they then can relate to, or humans, man seems to be a highly key figurative one in the previous element. But doesn't need Da Vinci. There are other ways to convey complexity. I think an image of beauty in its own right. It threw away the truth of true distance and said I can render the labyrinth of London more navigable if I actually forget the distance between stations, but then put it in a nice, easy infographic, if you like. But beware the channels that drives you down. Recently, the new Mayor of London decided that actually that was having an impaired outcome on our health. It was meaning the mangling of distances between stations meant no one knew how far distances were, so no one was walking. So they made the additions of the number of steps between the stations. Now I challenge that A, is it a truth that the tube map was adding to our laziness? I don't know. And I'd also add, well, adding some numbers there, I'm not entirely convinced that's driving the key decision-making processes towards let's get out and walk between stations. But so be it. Another beautiful infographic, again rendering information, in my view, worthy of a place on the wall. Energy flows in the UK. Energy inputs here, fuel types, natural gas, petroleum, electricity, coal. Falling out of the bottom, you have the inefficiencies of the system. Transmission losses, distribution losses. At the end, on the right, you have the uses, the demand side. You have industry, transport, domestic gas use for heating, electricity use. Now, as beautiful as I think this is, it's missing page 2. You have the losses around efficiency falling out here. If you're a policymaker, you're worrying, how do I fill this side of the curve to make sure everyone's got what they want? It drives a focus on not thinking, can you deliver the same output with less this side? And I'll perhaps capture that here. Take the 2014 natural gas use. It's millions of tonnes of oil equivalent. 30% drop against the same figure in 2004. That is a huge infrastructure programme. Billions of UK energy bill payers, annual energy bills. And yet they don't know what drove that decision, that change. Now, it's not just global warming. There is a weather-adjusted change if you dig into the statistics. 30% median drop in gas use in UK housing. DEC think they know. They think it's a combination of a movement to more efficient boilers in 2005, the beginning of energy efficiency programs that sell our products. We're very happy. They think perhaps some austerity tweaks of the thermostat, but the recession started here and the trend started before that. And this is the challenge. If we want to move to selling solutions, we actually don't know if our products drove that or how much of that bit we own. How do we render that more real? Because at the moment, in truth, the investment that goes into this side, supplying demand, rather than the investment that goes in here is much, much larger. Magnitudes of investment sums larger. I'm sure you've all seen Hinckley discussions on the papers in the last couple of years. Okay, don't know whether I've said it, you're challenging biases. Conveying complexity was my first point, challenging biases. It embedded structures, ways of thinking. It might be, this is how we've always done it, or even just it's easier to think about supplying a demand than finding an efficiency in a system. And perhaps getting back to the work we began with Leeds Beckett University quite a while ago. 2 homes, a party wall, the wall separating 2 homes. There's a cavity between that in probably, well, many properties between 1918 and 1950, and probably the majority of properties post-1950. Different types of party wall cavity, but the point was, the current thinking until Leeds Beckett exposed it as wrong was that there was no heat loss mechanism through this. A great claim for Leeds Beckett University was that actually the cold loft space was driving a thermal loop, robbing heat from both these homes, effectively bypassing insulation. My challenge was that while we and Leeds Beckett managed to change building regs to say any new homes, you need to install this measure, well, the 27 million existing homes, it's taken 5 years battle to get the capacity to retrofit insulation in this wall into national schemes, to actually match the evidence in reward or benefit in savings. Again, trying to knock down existing structures. The software says this, we can't change it unless you have X. So again, complexity, and then how do you ensure you knock down structural biases? And I'll talk a little bit, again, this is a corporate, obviously we have an intent, we want to sell more insulation, but how do you move the conversation to where we can sell that service? Leeds Beckett, we've looked at, with Leeds Beckett, both through our trade association and through our own company, how do you do external wall insulation better? How do you better insulate junctions? We had a project in Innovate UK, we didn't get that one through, I don't think. Same, how do you actually give an insulated loft that people might want? At the moment, building regs only requires you to put insulation there. As soon as you give the key over, 10 years of stuff will be dumped upon it and it will stop working effectively. Okay, so it works day 1. And again, if you had a system which rewarded a house level solution, you would say you either provide some insulated decking storage or you padlock the hatch and don't let them go up there. Two solutions, one of the two. Again, we looked at party wall, but all of these issues taken as a whole, the challenge and what tools will be available to answer that challenge. Is it IoT? Is it machine learning? Is it throwing sensors there? And again, we are looking at that space and we are being supported by some in this room to look at that space, although we're not there yet. Can we move away from having a look at this element-based approach at a wall, at a roof level to say, this is what a home needs, and if you get it right, you can start looking and building efficiencies in that energy flow at the right-hand side of the energy flow diagram and not the left. However, translating complexity, challenging biases and addressing invisible impacts. I shall be keenly looking at the presentation this afternoon to understand how I might further go about doing that. Thank you.